I let myself go blind. When I was 25, I was told that my sight would fade away like a TV losing signal. Hard shapes would turn soft, and eventually they would be nothing but a current of running colors. Then black. More than black. Nothing. Hard to describe nothing. But that's what I see. But it didn't have to be this way. Not yet. If I was diligent with my medication, if I followed the set schedule and paid attention to the signs that my body was giving me, it could have been decades before I lost my sight. I could lead a full, happy life if I chose. That was 7 years ago. I never took a pill or went to an appointment. I never tried to save my eyes, and I was glad to have them rot. The food deliveries come weekly. Everything I need is brought right to my door, and the things I don't are taken care of without my having to step a foot in the hallway or even take my trash to the garbage chute. The world beyond my door is unknown. In my apartment, I know every inch of the floor, every corner, every bureau and coffee table. I can move around without a walking stick. I can even jog if my phone is ringing in a distant room. I have no fear of getting hurt like I did in the early days of my disability. I live here on my own. I am safe. I am content. When I do speak to people, on the rare occasion where I must, they always ask, what happened? But I can't tell them it was preventable. They wouldn't understand. I woke in the middle of the night. I had been in a deep sleep when I woke. I wasn't tired or groggy, but my heart was pushing against my chest in heavy thuds, like it was trying to break through the bones that kept it safe. I didn't remember having any bad dreams. Why was I so scared? Or was I? My body behaved as if I was terrified, but my mind had no way to place it. I lay there and hoped I would eventually be able to calm down. I forced myself to slow my breathing. I gripped the sheets under my grimy palms. It worked. The chills in my back warmed. My anxiety dripped from me in thick waves of sweat staining the mattress beneath me. Now that I could feel my body calm down, I felt something else. Something mundane. I had to pee. I smiled. A thought like that can only occur to somebody who's not in danger. It had all been in my head, some forgotten dream. So I hurried to the bathroom. Before I knew what happened, I was falling. My shins had smashed into something in the middle of the room. 3 of my fingers bent back and cracked beneath the weight of my body as I dropped to the floor. My head knocked against the hard wood, and for a moment I lost track of where I was. The pain in my hand was so blinding I could hardly think. But when I did think, when I did come back to my senses, body still throbbing, I only had one thought. The coffee table had moved. I didn't want to believe this. I didn't want to remember. But I knew. There was no mystery here. I knew who had done this. In a way, I'd been waiting for this day for a long time. I had been waiting for her. I picked myself up. The broken fingers cradled like a bloody claw in my hand, and limped crooked to the bathroom, careful not to run into anything else along the way. The apartment was foreign to me now. This was no longer a home. It was a foxhole. I locked the door and ran the cold water, letting it numb my hand. For a moment, the relief was so great, I almost forgot to be afraid. When that moment passed, I realized I hadn't checked the bathroom to make sure I was alone. I listened. She was here. I could hear the shower curtain blowing forward and easing back like a flag pushed by a chilled breeze. My heart locked like the first time I saw her. It was the clearest memory I had of my life before losing my sight. I was a child. My sister and I had been playing a game in the living room during a storm, which caused a blackout. Without TV, games were all we had to keep ourselves entertained. When we had finished all the regulars, ending with Battleship, it was time to go over something more substantial. We decided on finally finishing a full game of Monopoly, which meant I would have to go to the basement. I remember the sound of thunder, like some creature roaring in the dark. I could even smell the rain, but the storm didn't scare me. I wasn't afraid of anything at that age, not even the basement. The light was very bright since my father had replaced the single bulb with a set of fluorescent tubes. The stairs, which had once been rotting wood, were now metal steps, and the silver surface caught the white lights in such a way to make you feel like you were going down into a spaceship. The floor was cement, newly finished and bright gray. There was nothing to be afraid of. I moved to the shelf where the game sat and ran my fingers along the boxes until I found Monopoly. She was already there, sitting against the wall, holding her knees, her face buried between them. At first I wasn't afraid because I didn't understand. She wore a white dress, though the bottoms were caked in mud. I opened my mouth to speak. She lifted up her eyes to meet mine. They were full of tears and mourning. But when she saw me, she blinked the sadness away, and all that was left was hate. She stood. I ran up the stairs, screaming for my mom. When I told her what I'd seen, she took me by the hand and led me back down the stairs, pulling me by the wrist, nearly popping my shoulder out of the socket. With each step we took, the air in my lungs was taken from me as if we were going underwater, as if my mother was trying to drown me. She tried to explain. She knew there was no one here. She had already come down to the basement. She already checked every inch of it. It was empty, she told me. But I wouldn't let it go. I knew what I saw. And so she dragged me, screaming and wailing, down and down, one step at a time. And as we went, I looked to the corner where the woman had been. First I saw her feet, bare and bloodied, then the muddy dress, and the sharp nails spiking from each finger. "See?" my mother said, pointing to the woman. "There's no one here. Nothing. It's your imagination." I couldn't move. I only stared. When I said nothing, my mother let go of my hand and marched back up the stairs, mistaking my fear for resignation. She left me there on my own. And as soon as she was gone from sight, the woman in the basement attacked me. I spent weeks, sometimes months of my childhood in hospitals after that day, with doctors trying to understand my seizures. But how can a seizure break bones or leave scratches all over my body? I eventually stopped telling them what I saw. The medicine they gave me only made me drowsy. But it never stopped the attacks. And then one day, like a miracle from heaven, I was told I would go blind. No one understood my calm, my quiet acceptance. My friends begged me to take my medication, to take care of myself. But I knew that this was the only way to stop her from attacking me. She only came when I saw her, only when my eyes met hers. One by one, my friends fell away. I stopped leaving the house as my sight got worse, and I had no one to help me navigate the world beyond my door. The attack stopped. I was right. Or at least I had been until tonight. She was there, just behind me. I heard the crinkling of the plastic shower curtain, the broken exhale of the shallow breaths. Slow and steady as I could, I opened the bathroom door and limped my way through the living room, my legs brushing the coffee table I had tripped over. The door to the corridor outside my apartment was only 7 steps from where I stood. I imagined myself going through it, hurrying down the hall and the staircase. It had been so long since I stepped foot outside my apartment, I wasn't sure I could even find the stairs. And if I did, if I reached the street, I would have no one to call. Nowhere to go. I had so expertly separated myself from the world that I could find myself entirely alone even on a crowded street. So I stood there, 7 steps from escape, and did not move an inch. The bathroom door creaked as it fell open. The floorboards whined closer and closer to me. "Why now?" I asked out loud. In that moment, I understood. This had been her plan. All my life, I had been with people, from my parents to doctors, teachers, friends. I had never been alone. Not until I moved and let my sight fade. She had been waiting all these years while I cultivated a life of solitude, as if waiting for a fruit to ripen. She had been waiting for the moment when, even if I could run, I didn't have the knowledge or means to escape her. And even if I did, I had no one to call, no place to go. I had done this to myself. I had built a trap, and now, with ease and delight, she sprung it. Her chilled breath blew on my neck. Cold. It was ice cold.